This is graphing systems of equations. And so to look at this, what we need to know is basically what is a system of equations. So we have to have at least two or more. There could be more. Most of the time we will see two. If they cross once, there's one solution. That's just the point where they cross. So we're talking about linear equations. So we're talking about lines. If you draw both of them on the same graph, if they cross, the point where they cross is the solution. And in that case, x and y are the same for both lines. If they do not cross, they're parallel and they have the same slope and no solution. So make sure, if you say no solution, they have to be parallel. If they're the same line, they have infinite solutions. So those are things you need to know. Make sure you remember those. Those are all going to be quiz questions. The other thing you need to remember is how to graph. So earlier in the year we graphed linear equations. We graphed by finding the x and y intercepts. Change the y to 0 to find the x-intercept, or the x to 0 to find the y-intercept. That's a good way to graph. That works. We also graphed with the table. So choosing three values for x and substituting them then for y. So that's a possibility. Remember your ones that are undefined. Make sure you remember how to graph those. Or ones that have a zero slope. The other thing we did was we also graphed in slope-intercept form. So y equals mx plus b. So make sure you remember this. Remember, slope is m, so in this case it's 6. B is y-intercept, in this case it's -9, so you can graph using that. So those are all ways that we talked about as far as graphing. If you need to go back and look at some of those videos, you can do that. I'm not going to go through that now. Okay, so here's a system, and you probably should pause and go ahead and draw the graph. So I've done this for this situation. This is how much it costs to produce CDs, and this is how much money you're making on the CDs. So this would be a sample for a business. So in this case, you're making $10 for every CD you sell. But it costs them $1,500 for the production, and then the supplies for each CD is $4. Okay, so in the end you can tell they're making $6 per CD, but it costs them $1,500 for production, so before they're actually making anything. So just to show you the graph, so make sure you remember your y-intercept and your slope. So the y-intercept is 1,500, so that starts right here. Okay, so I'm basically doing it using a table. I plugged in 200 to the equation. I see what the y equals. Then I can just connect these lines. So that's the first one. And the second one is y equals 10x. So that's here. And if I put 200 into there, that's 2,000. So those are your two lines. That's a system of equations. So the point where they cross is the solution. So here's the solution. And this point has a meaning. This is the one case where the x and the y are the same. So in this case it's 250, I think it's 250 something. So you're trying to find that point. In this case, it also means something. You have to sell this amount of CDs before you're actually making money. So it's something you would want to look at as you're doing a business. How many do I have to sell before I actually make money? Okay, so there's an example. So looking at the homework, so I'm going to give you some homework help. What you should do is you should go to page 338, because we'll be working on this in class, and look at numbers 16 through 21 that you're going to have to do. So some things I will remind you on those is rearrange. So you might want to get it into slope-intercept form if that's what you want to do. So you would need to rearrange on numbers 19, 20, and 21. Rearrange your work. On number 21, you have one that's undefined. So make sure you remember undefined slopes and how those graphs look. And the other ones should be pretty straightforward. If they're parallel, it's possible there's no solution. If they're the exact same line, there could be infinite solutions because they cross infinite times. Make sure to do annotations. Make sure to go find the Edmodo quiz. And go back and review graphing if you need to, because we're not going to do much of it here. It's assumed you already know how to do that.